Alright, in case you guys haven't heard, the UFC is not playing around this year, man. We're only 42 days into the year, and at least 9 fighters have been confirmed to have been removed from the UFC's roster. Now, fighters are getting cut, some are getting cut, some the UFC is just choosing not to renew their contracts, but it seems like every day we're hearing about a new fighter that's being released from the UFC. Most recently was Muhammad Usman. Usman tested positive for PEDs. He was given a 36-month suspension, I believe, which is pretty much a death sentence for his career. The guy is 36, 37 years old. Um, he's a heavyweight, but he's not even ranked. At least he wasn't at the time. Three 3 year suspension. He'd be, roughly 40 years old by the next time he fought. So the UFC deciding to suspend him and then cut him was an interesting move. I don't know why they didn't cut him to begin with. If they were going to suspend him for that long. I don't know if this is coming from Dana himself. Maybe there's pressure from Paramount. Maybe there's pressure from the fans to make some changes. There's a lot of, I guess, favoritism about how long certain fighters get suspended for PEDs. Maybe this will be a universal rule going around. If you do get caught, if you do pop for PEDs and you are cut, that'd be interesting to see. I don't think that's the case. I'm sure this is just like a one-time thing to make an example out of Usman. Get some good headlines for the UFC. Come across as an organization that has their stuff together, but we'll see. Next up is Jailton Almeida. And now, Jailton, I want to apologize to you personally, bro. Last week during the Batista Oliveira fight night, I watched that event. I could have chosen to recap the entire event. I could have chosen to only speak on the Batista Oliveira main event. Could have chosen to speak on Horiguchi's performance, but no. I decided to make a video titled "Throw Away the Heavyweight Division" in all caps and go on a rant about Talison Teixeira, taituivasa, Derek Lewis, and Jailton Almeida. And then, to add insult to injury, the following day I made a short just ranting about Jailton's performance and why I think, he didn't deserve to be ranked in the heavyweight division. I had no clue, bro, that Uncle Dana was going to see my video and cut you. I didn't know that my cousin Hunter Campbell was going to watch that and remove you from the roster. I'm sure you got a wife, a girlfriend, kids, all that, bro. Comment your cash app down below and I'm going to make things right, bro. My bad. Jokes aside, Jailton, he two poor performances, against Rizvan Kuniev and then one against Volkov. The UFC hasn't given an official reason for his release. I assume it's because, lackluster performances, just a lack of enthusiasm. He said he wanted to move down to light heavyweight right before the release. We'll see if he continues to fight in a lighter weight class in different promotion, but I don't know. I don't know what this guy's next move is because he seems like he does not want to be in the octagon. Aaron Tal, I mean, this guy, we have a definitive reason for why he was cut. This guy cheated. He's supposed to weigh in at, what was it, 122 and a half, came in at 129 and a half. He was way overweight, tried to pull the DC towel trick, got caught cheating, cut from the UFC, rightfully so. I mean, to come in that far overweight is one thing, but then to try and cheat about it is another. I mean, if it's your first fight in the UFC, you're given this opportunity and you know you're not going to make weight. I understand why he would try to cheat, but it's like high risk, high reward. If you're that far over and you pull it off, you get lucky. But then if you don't, you got to accept the consequences. So Tal, his cut makes sense. I don't think anyone will argue that, against that. Javid Basharat, I mean, this guy, he just won a fight at on the 7th, I believe. He just won a fight last week. Unanimous decision. Despite that, his prior 2 fights were losses, and then he had a no contest before that. He wasn't released. I think they chose not to renew his contract. Maybe it's to free up, some spots on the roster. Maybe it was because I think he's a boring fighter. They want someone that actually gets finishes rather than constant decision wins and losses. No official statement regarding his reason for release. I mean, you know, he didn't pop for PEDs. He didn't miss weight. He didn't have any scandals like that. He just not the most entertaining fighter. So, maybe, who knows? Maybe he'll make it to another promotion. Maybe he'll come back to the UFC. Who knows, man? And then finally, Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix, hyped up prospect from Bellator, came in, lost twice. 2 losses on his record. He showed that he could not keep up with the caliber of fighters that we have in the UFC. Who knows? Maybe he'll go back to Bellator, maybe Rise something like that. He was not an industry plant, but he was someone that the UFC was trying to push, but that clearly didn't work out. I guess like a worse version of Chandler or Paddy Pimblett or something, but he couldn't really get his Dana White privilege. Like I said, 9 confirmed fighters have been released so far this year. We're only 42 days in. Plenty of others. Morano. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Morano was released. Pennington. Oh, TC Pennington was released this year. A couple others. I'd say these are the most interesting, the ones that have the most, they're in the headlines the most. We'll see if anyone else gets released. The UFC's on a tear, man. I don't know if this is coming from Dana White himself. He's sick of the fan criticism. Maybe it's coming from Paramount. Maybe because they paid so much money, they're holding him and the organization to higher standards. But we'll see if this trend continues, man. Let me know what you guys think. If any of these were unjustified, if there is anyone else that needs to get cut. I mean, taituivasa, he's 0-6 right now. He's still in the UFC. Jailton Almeida is 0-2 in his last 2. Basharat just came off of a win. He got cut, so who knows, man? Maybe we'll see if the trend continues or if this was just to a little bit of posturing. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.